You know, for millions of years, there's been one species at the top, ruling this planet, not with claws or teeth, but with the sheer power of its intelligence, and that's us. But right now, we are on the verge of creating something that could change literally everything. This is the story of artificial intelligence and why it might just be humanity's final invention.
Just let that sink in for a second. Our last invention. We're not talking about a new smartphone app or a slightly faster computer here. The stakes are potentially cosmic. So the big question is, how on earth did we get to this point? How do we even start to think about building a completely new kind of mind?
All right, so to really get a handle on where we're going, we've got to take a step back and look at the journey of intelligence itself. And wow, is it a long one. We're talking about a story that stretches back 500 million years.
I mean, just look at the scale of time here. It's staggering. For hundreds of millions of years, evolution was just kinda tinkering. It made specialized brains, right? Brains that were really good at one or two things, like finding food or avoiding a predator. They were basically single-purpose tools. Then, in what is just a blink of an eye in geological time, something totally new emerged with our ancestors, a general, all-purpose intelligence.
And this is the crucial point. Our general intelligence was like nature's first Swiss Army knife. It meant we could solve all sorts of different problems, we could ask questions, we could build on knowledge, and we started to reshape the entire planet way, way faster than evolution could ever keep up. We didn't just play the game of nature. We completely rewrote the rules.
So here we are. We've climbed to the very top of the biological intelligence ladder. And what's the first thing we do? We start building a brand new ladder. Only this time, it's not made of neurons. It's made of silicon. This is a whole new chapter in the story of intelligence.
So let's break it down. At its very core, AI is really just software designed to think. It's an attempt to copy the problem-solving power of a biological brain, but run it on a computer. It sounds pretty simple when you put it like that, but the implications? They are anything but.
The very first AIs, back in the 1960s, were incredibly basic. I mean, they were slow, they were specialized, and they could only really do one simple thing in a perfectly controlled setting. You can think of them as the digital version of that first flatworm brain, just a tiny little cluster of code doing the absolute minimum.
And for decades, progress was slow and steady. A chatbot here, a number reader there. But then, 1997 happened. This was a big one. When the AI Deep Blue defeated Garry Kasparov at chess, it was a genuine shock. For the first time ever, a machine had beaten the best human mind at a task that was seen as the peak of intellectual strategy. Now, Deep Blue was impressive, for sure. But at the end of the day, it was basically a very, very sophisticated calculator that humans had programmed. The real revolution, the thing that changed everything, began when we figured out how to make AIs that could teach themselves. To put it simply, we combined massive supercomputers with absolutely enormous amounts of data. And using systems called neural networks, the AI could actually adjust itself to get better at a task. And here's the wild part. The creators, us, we don't always know how it's doing what it's doing. The result is this powerful but often mysterious black box of code. It works, but we don't fully understand it.
And you can see the results of that breakthrough right here. The pace just went vertical. What used to take decades was now taking a few years or even a few months. AlphaGo mastered a game that's infinitely more complex than chess. Then AlphaZero taught itself chess in just 4 hours. And then ChatGPT came along, and suddenly we have an AI that has a grasp of language that feels shockingly human. The progress is becoming exponential.
And let's be clear, this isn't science fiction. This type of specialized AI is already deeply woven into our world. It's transforming everything from banking and healthcare to the very news and social media feeds you look at every single day. It's already here. So, all the AI we've been talking about so far is what we call narrow AI. It's a specialist. But what happens when we go from that specialized tool to a general, all-purpose mind? This comparison is so key. The AI we have today is like a screwdriver. It's amazing at one job. Artificial General Intelligence, or AGI, well, that would be the multi-tool. It could learn and take on pretty much any intellectual task a human can, from writing poetry to solving quantum physics. It's the digital version of our own flexible, game-changing intelligence. So just pause and think about that. What actually happens to our civilization when a machine can do any mental job better, faster, and cheaper than a human? The level of disruption we're talking about, it would be unlike anything humanity has ever experienced. To put this into perspective, let's just look at the raw numbers. Right now, there are about 8 million scientists and researchers in the world working on all of humanity's biggest problems. That's the sum total of our species' brainpower, all pushing progress forward. Now imagine this.
A single AGI copied a million times. An army of a million scientists working around the clock, never sleeping, never getting distracted, and thinking at speeds our biological brains can't even begin to imagine. What problems could they solve in a week? Or what about just one day? And that kind of immense power is a classic double-edged sword. An AGI could potentially help us solve our greatest challenges, curing disease, fixing the climate, ending poverty. But that exact same intelligence could be used to build autonomous weapons, engineer pandemics, or create systems of social control we could never escape from. The tool is incredibly powerful. Its use depends entirely on the user.
But there's one final, speculative step that takes all of this to a completely different level. This is where things get really mind-bending. What happens when an AI becomes smart enough to improve itself?
This is the idea people call the intelligence explosion. It's a feedback loop. An AGI that can do AI research would make itself smarter. That slightly smarter version would be even better at the task, making an even smarter version, and so on and so on. This recursive cycle could, maybe in a very short time, just rocket an AI's intelligence far, far beyond anything a human could comprehend.
This analogy just captures that potential gap perfectly. A superintelligence might look at our deepest philosophical questions, our most advanced scientific theories, the same way we look at a squirrel trying to figure out how to get a nut. We wouldn't even be able to comprehend its thought process.
And this leads us to the ultimate dilemma. Are we creating a god in a box, an entity with the power to solve all our problems and secure our future? Or are we building something that, whether it means to or not, just subverts our entire civilization and ends our story?
And please, don't mistake this for some distant sci-fi thought experiment. The world's largest and richest companies are in an active race right now to build these ever more powerful AIs. We are running headfirst toward this future, whether we are ready for it or not.
So we're left with what might be the biggest question humanity has ever faced. Will this be our greatest creation, an ultimate partner that helps us achieve an unimaginable future? Or will it be our final invention because it becomes our successor on the intelligence ladder? The only thing we know for sure is that we're building it.